EC Glass, we have Coach Jamar Lovelace entering his third year. And EC Glass is coming off of a 5-6 season. Here we have Elijah Hughes on the right here, running back, linebacker, and Julius Scott, defensive end. Coach, if you just want to start with some general comments about maybe how the season's or how the training is going for you guys, and whatever else you want to add, and then we'll open it up for questions.
Training's going great for us. We've been, I think we've all had kind of a bad taste in our mouth since last year's 5-5 football season with a first-round loss to GW in the playoffs. We hold our standard very high as a team, as a program. So I think that's been motivation for us kind of all off-season long. We kind of talked about having small goals, so it's been about winning every single day, winning every day in the weight room, being more accountable to each other, being better teammates, executing game plans. We've just kind of broke it down to the absolute lowest fundamental levels that we can, and we want to be great at those things. We feel like, walking that path is going to kind of get us exactly where we want to go. Our standards are high. We want to be the best team in the district. We think that's going to put us in position to be in the playoffs. And once you're in the playoffs, it's kind of a step-by-step process now to get to your ultimate goal. We're trying to win each day. We've had a great offseason. I think about 95% of our varsity team has been there since either since January or since kind of March when spring started. So we've got a real bought-in group. We feel great about our chemistry. We feel great about our accountability level. We're a bigger, stronger football team than we were last year, and we wanted to be that way on purpose. I don't think that we weren't big enough and strong enough last year to compete in the district and in the region, where it's going to take some guts and it's going to take some pounds and it's going to take some time in the weight room. And that's been our focus all offseason, and we feel great about where we are and chomping at the bit to get going. We play a tough schedule, so we're going to have to be at our best early. So we want to be at our best every day, knowing that that's the type of effort it's going to take every Friday night that we play.
I don't want to have you call out anybody in particular, but was there a group like the offensive line? I mean, is there anybody that had to get better from last year?
Yeah, we had to get better up front. We play in the Seminole district, and it's the Seminole district is an up-front league. Everybody's got kids that can run and throw the ball and catch the ball. Games are won and lost up front. We knew that. We were young up front last year, and I always say young teams become old. So a lot of those whoopings that we took up front last year were lessons for our guys, and they stayed on our mind all off season long. We didn't run the ball efficiently last year. You can't beat these teams in the Seminole district or these teams in the region that we play in if you're not competing up front. And the foundation for competing up front is being stronger, spending time in the weight room, being committed to the weight room. So we had to improve everywhere as a football team, but it started with us all being bigger, stronger, and being able to compete at the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Guys, if I asked you to describe Coach Lovelace, how he's been so far, how would you describe him?
He's an amazing coach. Tells us to win the day, step by step, play by play.
Best coach I ever had. He'll do anything for his players.
How would you describe yourself, Coach?
Oh man, 100% bought in. Whatever that may mean. I think that means so many different things. I think EC Glass is a unique place, and we serve the unique needs of our kids in a bunch of unique different ways. We wear a lot of different hats. I think that's what you sign up for when you sign up for this job. Loving your guys can mean a whole lot of different things. Sometimes that's pushing them to limits they didn't know they had. Sometimes that's being hard on them and disciplining them and holding them accountable. Sometimes that's giving them a hug and telling them you love them. But we always talk about how love makes you feel. It can make you feel at the top of the mountain, and it can make you feel down in the valley. But we try to give our guys as much love as possible, and that means a whole lot of different things.
Coach, you talked about running the ball. How do you feel like you guys will be improved in that area this year, personnel-wise?
We're a bigger team. We have more tight end and H-back bodies. We're bigger in the backfield. We got a couple guys who we feel real good about handing the football off to in short yardage situation. We're big at quarterback. We're big at running back. So we look to be a whole lot more efficient in being able to run the ball and sustain drives. We got a lot of guys who were not happy about, what we did production-wise running the football last year. So that's been a focus of ours all off-season long. We want to move the ball and score touchdowns, but we want to be able to be efficient and go on long drives and march down the field.
Was there a point, was it at the end of last season, was there a point during the season where you realized something's missing and you've got to rectify that, and a lot of it's off-season based?
I don't know if it was a certain point last year. We played such a competitive schedule. Even the games that we won, they were all super competitive games. I think for us in our program, that our players really saw the need to be focused for 4 quarters. We had a lot of games where we would start slow and kind of finish well, and it wasn't enough. We had other games where we would start fast and not finish. And my mind goes to Rustburg. We lost in overtime, the last game of the season. And we did a great job moving the football that game, but we didn't get timely stops. We gave up big plays. So just our overall mentality was something that we've been focused on all year. Every Sunday we kind of go back and we pick out the worst plays from the previous Friday night. And we never want mental mistakes to be a part of that playlist. We always talk about controlling what we can control. And one of the things we can control is just if we execute our part. So that's been a focus of ours all off-season long, was doing our part. We don't want to help teams move the ball and put the ball in the end zone for other teams. We want to make it as hard as possible. And we don't want to hurt ourselves at all. So I think just the overall focus of completing the task at hand has been the focus all off-season long, which we know is going to translate to playing 4 quarters of football in the fall.
As you enter your 3rd year now here at EC Glasson, what's the biggest way you've developed as a coach? What's the biggest thing that you've maybe learned in your time here?
I think one of the things that we've learned is that you gotta keep your guys having fun. I think we sometimes forget that this is the funnest game in the world, and we should be having a good time doing it. And although we got goals and we want to meet those goals, I think it's important for us to mix in to remind our guys that they're still kids, and we want them to run around and have fun playing this game that we love so much and that we're so dedicated to. And I think it's easy to kind of get wrapped up in the right now of things and forgetting the time spent and how important it is. So I think we've done some fun things over the off season, some things that have nothing to do with football, going hiking and taking guys out, spending time doing things outside of our normal weight room and practice time. And I think those bonds are only going to make us play harder for each other and make this thing mean more than what it already does.
Players, he talked about you guys being bigger at quarterback. I'm sure he's talking about Julius Holloway. What kind of quarterback is he from a player's perspective? What do you hear from him in the huddle and at practice every day?
He takes command of things. He can run the ball. He can throw it. He knows how to make smart reads, and he's a team player.
Yeah, definitely a leader. Always brings up like the linemen or they do something wrong. He's a great guy.
And he picks on the little things with us, and he's willing to block and put his body on the line too. That's one thing about him.
And guys, what do you hope to bring to your positions, just kind of personally? What do you feel like your best qualities are heading into the year?
Just be a leader, and honestly, I feel like with us, it's like our chemistry with each other. We're all on each other about everything, all the little things that the coaches preach to us about. Because if you can't do the little things right, how do you expect to do the big things right?
Yeah, like you said, being a leader, making sure everybody else on the line is right. Communication is key.
For everybody, how would you define leadership?
Define leadership means taking accountability on one another. Even like sometimes when it might look like in a derogatory way, but it's actually not. And I would also say like holding each other accountable. Like if one of us miss a rep, we all just restart and do it together as a team, because you can't win in this game unless you're a team.
I think it's a lot about vulnerability. There's different ways you can be a leader. You can be like a vocal leader who like shouts out stuff, encouragements and all that, or you can be one that leads by example, just by being good and doing all that.
I think leadership is about showing others who you are, and that doesn't mean that you do things right all the time. I think there's learning lessons and everything. Julius used the word vulnerability that we talk about all the time. Every Friday night we kind of put ourselves out there because we're going to try our absolute hardest, and we're going to go at it as hard as we want, as hard as we can. but the outcome is something that we don't know. And I don't think it's a popular trait in society for adults and for kids to do something as hard as they can, even when the outcome could be something that is not favorable for you. So we talk all the time about just, being vulnerable and being willing to go all out. And even though we might not reach every single goal, we're going to show up every single week and be as vulnerable as possible and play absolutely as hard as we can, despite any outcome and despite any circumstance.
Coach, we talk about a lot. I think that there are expectations for football in Midtown now that maybe didn't used to exist a while back. And so what is that like for you? What is it like for these guys heading into the season?
It's a wanted stress. I think that I don't know any coach that wouldn't want a job that comes with high expectations. And if your place doesn't have high expectations, you're trying to get it there, I'm sure. So obviously, we set the standard for ourselves very high. I think we show that every year with the schedule that we play and the teams that we schedule. We want to play the best teams, and we know that that's going to prepare us and kind of thicken our skin up as much as possible for when it matters most. But there's a standard to win, and I don't think there's never a cap to it. We want to beat every single team that we can play. We play for one of the most storied and oldest high schools in the state of Virginia that has a long history. We walk down that hallway every day, and we see these pictures to our left and our right, and we want to do the same things. There's not a team on our schedule that we look at as superior. We're the team that we feel like it can compete with anybody else in the state, and we want to live up to that standard, not just in the fall season, but in the off season, in our actions and with everything that we do.